There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Hey, I'm Joe Pruitt. I'm the publisher and /CEO of Aftershock Comics, and you're watching The Experience.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. Today, we've got a special guest, and just to give a little setup to it, I'd say about 3-4 years ago now, maybe. I'm horrible with dates. I was at the Stan Lee Kamikaze Comic-Con, and my friend Adam had a movie he was showing there. He had written and directed, he and his wife, Deborah Sullivan, and a group of actors that I knew quite a few of, but it was a horror movie called Secret Santa. And he was showing it at the convention, and he was like, yeah, you're going to come see the show, right? And I don't know if Adam ever realized that I'm not actually a horror guy. I don't tend to see a lot of horror movies. But I went, support my friend. And I have to admit that I sat in this little theater for the next 90 minutes, roughly. I'm not sure exactly how long the movie is. But my jaw was either on the floor or I was laughing my ass off. This was one of the most unique and fun theatrical experiences I ever had. This movie is just a joy. I reviewed it for Bleeding Cool at the time, and the best phrase I could use for it is it was effing brilliant, and I didn't edit myself. And he ended up using that on the cover of the DVD. So we are going to talk about Secret Santa and some of his other work, but let's bring in the amazing Adam Marcus.
Hey, brother.
How you doing, sir?
I am really good, man. I am really good. That was a lovely intro to hear, dude. That really was.
Yeah.
Made my day.
Yeah, both Ashley and I, who was with me at the show, you were like so enthused and excited about the project, and neither one of us are horror people. So we're like, well, but we both went because you're kind of infectious that way. You get people excited, and we both loved the movie. It was just so good.
Thank you, bro.
I mean, and you hook people from the opening credits with some of Curtis's lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Curtis, what's Curtis's last name?
Fortier. Curtis Fortier.
Curtis Fortier, who is also just he's a great actor, but he plays the uncle, the somewhat racist uncle, and his dialogue. This is such a unique. How would you describe the movie?
It's a Christmas haramedy. And honestly, the way I always tell people about it, because here's the thing, for me, I'm not interested in an audience that's just horror folk. Okay. That's too easy an audience. And quite frankly, a lot of times they are too hard on new ideas, on new things in horror. So a lot of times I kind of shy away from that audience and go, guys, look, when I'm just gonna do a slice and dice, when just slashing teenagers and at Camp Crystal Lake, you're the people I'm coming to. Got it. But for most of the films that I make, including the slasher movies I've been involved with, I do try to bring in an audience that isn't horror and blood soaked, that wants something where they can go. Like for me, you and Ashley, I made that a mission over that weekend because it was the last day of the con. And I made it a mission to get you guys to come because Ashley had warned me, Dan does not like horror movies. I'm like, okay, but I'm telling you, this is the horror movie for people who hate horror movies. Because the comedy, which, by the way, look, the greatest masters in our genre usually find a way to bring a sense of humor into their movies. I mean, there's a reason Freddy Krueger is funny. And that's Wes Craven's genius. Look, the Scream movies are all really comic. So, Alfred Hitchcock, while a thriller director, he's still horror adjacent. He always had a healthy sense of humor in everything he did. So I personally, like, a day without laughter to me is a day not lived. So it has to have a sense of humor to draw you in, to draw you closer. The other thing about Secret Santa in particular, and I'm doing sort of a couple of other films. I guess it'll be a trilogy of sorts, but a couple of other films about familial interactions and about the toxicity of family. Because I'm one of those people that, and full well because you're a member of Skeleton Crew through our readings at Development Hell. But that crew is a family, and it's the family I chose, not the family I was born into. And there are wonderful people in my family that I adore, that are blood relatives. And then there's people that if I wasn't their relative, I would never spend any time with them because they're assholes.
Yeah.
So the movie is about what happens when you get dealt a really bad hand. And I think most people would say there's at least half the people in their family they would prefer never to talk to again. Well, this movie is about what if nobody in your family you ever wanted to deal with. And you get stuck at a holiday celebration with them where everybody's supposed to be not just on their best behavior, but so loving and joyful and 'tis the season and all that nonsense. And really, you just spend the whole time, usually, with your significant other, complaining about when the hell do I get out of here? How quickly can we go? And what if, for some reason, you got to say everything you actually wanted to say to them?
Yeah, that's the brilliance right there. You have dysfunctional family, secluded location, and weapons-grade truth serum. Yeah. And just the hilarity and gore exists. And I think that's the other part that really worked for me, is that you went so over the top on the violence and gore that you become desensitized to it. So you just go from shocked to laughing to shocked to laughing, back and forth. And everybody in the cast it's obvious they totally embraced what you were doing, because they all turned it up to 11. I mean, just down the line, from the oversexed stepbrother, his girlfriend, Drew was amazing. Just down the line.
The other thing is, the way we made that movie, and one of the things that's on the Blu-ray and the DVD of the movie that you can't stream, you can only get that way, is, I cut a feature-length documentary about the making of the movie. And it's funny because it's sort of this yin-yang sort of collection, because the movie is this sort of anti-family film, right? This is the bad family. The documentary is the exact opposite, because it's, again, about the family you choose, and it's sort of my loving tribute to that idea of family, that your friends are your family, the people you bring closest to you. And look, by the way, I have an incredible relationship with my younger brother, Kip, who I've made many, many things with. We made movies together. We've worked in the theater for forever together. He is my brother in every sense of the word. Here's the thing. I am blessed that I have an outreach of brothers and sisters out there that I have met along my journey through my life. By the way, some people that I met when I was 8 years old, all the way up to people that I've only known a few years. But that collective, what was so awesome about the making of Secret Santa is we had to live. There were 3 houses, the house we shot in and a house on either side. That's it. That was where we lived for the entirety of the shoot. And we got snowed in. So the day we arrived, everybody was about 6 hours late. Not myself, but most of my cast was 6 hours late because we couldn't get up the mountain. The snow tires and everything else, you could not get up the mountain because 6 feet of snow dumped on us. So my cast could not leave their houses. We could only be with each other while we shot that movie, which was incredible. Incredible. Like, all we did was shoot and then eat and then sleep, you know? And some people would sit in the hot tub and get drunk after a day's work. But you were shooting, you know, from 5 in the afternoon till 6 in the morning every night. Then going to sleep and, you know, rinse and repeat. But there was something about that communal experience. It was interesting. One of the reasons I did it, when they did August Osage County, which Meryl Streep was famously the lead of, she said she would not do the movie unless the entire cast lived together in that house for 2 weeks before they shot. And the likes of Julia Roberts were like, if Meryl Streep wants it, we're doing it. But it makes a huge difference. You become this team, you know, all with a common purpose. And look, I have incredible actors. Like by the way, all the actors that I work with in that movie in particular, every single one of them are my students, are people that I've worked with for either, you know, some up to 2 decades that I've worked with. And these are people that I trust with my life and trust with my art and trust with my words. Well, you can't go wrong when you've got that kind of team. It's impossible.
Right. Yeah. The movie Knives Out recently had a similar situation, and you can see that in the movie, how well everybody was connected. Talk a little bit about the patriarch of the film, and sadly the recently passed John Gilbert. Yeah. He might seem familiar to a lot of people because he's done a lot of television,
ton of work,
and stuff like that. But tell us a little bit about John and working with him.
Johnny G, that's what we call him, John Gilbert, Johnny G. Johnny G was with Skeleton Crew for well over a decade. He had been my student for that long. I adored the man so tremendously. And what's remarkable, and I speak about this only because he was okay with talking about it. He ended up having Alzheimer's. What I did not know, so there was a thing in our acting class where John would do a scene with somebody and he would go up on his lines, but John was so skilled, he was such a brilliant actor that he would go off book, but he was so seamless and brilliant that the other actor, if they didn't know where he was, if they didn't follow his lead, it looked like they forgot their lines, not like John did, right? So it was extraordinary. So we would call that getting Johnny G'd. You just got Johnny G'd, okay? Well, what I didn't know is that he got diagnosed in 2012.
Oh, wow.
And none of us knew it. He kept it from everybody. He didn't want, you know, he's an actor. He wanted to work. Yeah. And he didn't want that getting around, that there was that going on. So when I came to him with Secret Santa, the first thing is John was one of the executive producers of the film. He was one of the financiers of the movie. He had read the part. He'd read the project. He loved it. And he was like, how are you guys fixed for money? And I said, it's tight. And he said, well, I don't want that to be what you're thinking about. So let's figure out what you need and let's get that done. And so that's why John is one of the exec producers on the film. So here's what happened. We're going up the mountain on that infamous day when there was that blizzard. And Johnny G had been picked up by my partner, Brian Sexton, who's my producing partner and truly the single best producer I've ever worked with. I mean, really a remarkable, brilliant, and kind man. Truly my best friend. And Brian was driving John up because we didn't want John driving, so we're driving him up. And Brian gets to the house and he says, hey, listen, we were running some of the dialogue. We got a problem. I said, what do you mean? He says, yeah, John doesn't know the lines. And we're shooting tonight, man. Like, I don't know what's going on. I said, okay, well, I'll talk to him. It's fine. It's not like we're shooting a few pages a day. We'll get him there. Well, we were really shooting about 10 to 12 pages a day because we shot the entire movie in 11 nights in one day. Yeah. So I started working with John, and then I would have the cast work with John, and John was not getting it. And I was having to shoot John's scenes 2 and 3 times. And again, when you're shooting that many pages a day, you can't do that. You can't keep doing that. We finally started getting some cue cards. We started doing other things. And then I was like, look, we'll do one line at a time. I'll feed you the line, you go. Like, let's just do that. And he's such a brilliant actor. But he finally kind of came clean with me about there was a real issue. There was a real problem. This was while we were shooting.
Yeah.
Here's what's incredible. Every member of that cast, when they would wake up in the morning, I would come out of my bedroom and see a different person. Drew, Eddie, Michelle, Deborah, a different person each day would be sitting with John at the Christmas table, running his lines with him. And again, I got to tell you, man, that's the difference. For me, that's the difference between the kind of movie making I love doing and studio filmmaking. That doesn't happen in studio filmmaking. Okay. Right. They would have replaced John. That would have been the end of the story. At one point, John said to me, he said, look, man, he said, can you kill my character off early in the movie? And I was like, no. Are you kidding? I can't rewrite the entire movie on the fly. We got 10 days to shoot. What are you, crazy? I said, I will get you through this. I promise you, I will get you through this. And what's incredible, you would have no idea that John had a problem. You'd have no idea watching the movie. It's just not there at all.
Yeah, his performance is seamless.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So look, we lost John earlier this year, just a few months ago. He was in class up until he went. And he worked with an earpiece. We had Deborah would feed him lines off stage. So he never stopped working. And I got to tell you, he's got 2 more movies coming out that he was leads in that are coming out now posthumously that he had done just months before he died.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he was sort of the patriarch of our clan. And I miss him every day. He's an amazing, beautiful man.
Since you're working with the skeleton crew, your students, did you write this for particular actors?
Yes, 100%. What happened? The way this worked. So Brian, my partner that I spoke of earlier, Brian had come to me. This was October. This was actually on Halloween of 2015. Came to me and said. He had just come from AFM. He was just dealing with AFM, with people from AFM. And he said, everybody is out of horror movies. Like, everybody needs horror movies. I was like, okay. He said, do we have anything we could shoot for nothing? Like, right now, just go shoot something. And I was like, I will look, but nothing that comes to mind is that cheap. Mm-hmm. So I went and looked at our backlog, and Deborah and I have written about 80 films together. And I said, yeah, there's nothing that's a nothing budget. I said, but give me a minute and let me think and let me figure something out. So I immediately I had an idea for something that I could pull off. I went to this woman, Pat Destro, who plays the evil aunt of the movie. I went to Pat. I said, hey, I got a movie that I think you'd be great in. Remember when you said to me that I could use your Big Bear house anytime I needed it for a movie? She's like, yeah. I said, this is the movie. She said, great. When? I said, I want to use it the first 2 weeks of January. She says, okay, we're not renting it at that point because a lot of times they rent it in the winter because of the ski season up there. She's like, no problem. Perfect. It's yours. I said, great. I said, can you check the other houses around you? Because I know they're rentals as well. Can you see if I can get those as well? She goes, no problem. I said, and also check with everybody in the neighborhood and ask if they're willing to keep up their Christmas decorations for an extra month. I'll pay them for it if I need to, but if they're willing to do it. She said, you got it. So she calls me back literally a half an hour later. It's like, I've talked to everybody. You can have the 2 houses. They'll give you a cut rate because it's me. And everybody in the area says they'll keep their Christmas lights up. I said, great. I'm art directed. I have my housing for my crew, and I've got my location.
So you locate scouted?
Yeah, that was literally the first thing. I'm like, we're done. Great. So now I went, okay, I want 10 people around that table, and I need 3 caterers. Mm-hmm. I went to each person in the movie and said, are you available for this amount of time? right? Can you give me this time to shoot the movie? Each one of them was like, hell yeah, I can, right? Like it was instant. The only person who had a problem because of his work schedule was Curtis. So I literally said to him, he said, dude, I can give you like 8 days and then maybe I can come back for the end weekend or, I can. And I said, dude, not a problem. I'll kill you first. And he was like, oh, okay, that'll work. I said, totally, done. So that is truly how the film got structured, was that I knew I only had Curtis that long. So I'm like, all right. And by the way, if you look on the end credits, there's a credit on there that I stole from Sam Raimi. It's something that I do in all my movies now, but called Fake Shemps. So if you're a fan of the Three Stooges, there was another Stooge named Shemp. And when the Stooges would shoot their movies, they'd shoot them in packs. So there were 5 movies that Shemp was in, but died in the middle of shooting them. So there were actors who would come in who were referred to as fake Shemps because they looked nothing like Shemp, but somebody would go, hey, Shemp, go get the police. And Shemp would be like, okay, gotta go. And he would walk up, and it was literally not Shemp. He was just dressed like Shemp. So if you look at the end of Secret Santa, there's a title for fake Shemps. It's all of the people who either played Johnny G's body or Curtis's dead carcass in the house. Because I was like, okay, Curtis got to leave early. We got to kill him off. Nice. So I had my cast and I wrote to their voices. I knew exactly what they could excel at. Look, I mean, Ryan Seaton is so good in this movie. Like she's just so good. And the truth is that I've seen Ryan get that persnickety. Like I've seen her dark side. And I'm like, okay, I'm writing exclusively for your dark side. Now, on the other hand, Deborah Sullivan, my wife and my writing partner and the light of my life. Deborah is a master at her craft. She's a brilliant actor, but she is not an evil person. She's not. She's got a little evil streak, which I adore. That wicked laugh of hers is 100% Deb. But here's the thing. She knows how to tap into something that is that wicked. And she knows women that behave the way that woman behaves. So it was such a delight. Oh my God. Writing villains for Deb, which is sort of exclusively what I do now. Like now I only write her these evil characters. She's like, Adam, the whole world's going to think I'm a monster. I'm like, listen, you're great at it. What can I say? But she, her work in that movie is the thing I am probably most proud of.
I loved the interaction between her and Pat.
They're amazing together.
Yeah, they are. They work so well off of each other. Yeah, I mean, just the interactions between the characters. Ryan, where a lot of the actors I've actually met prior or through Development Hell, I hadn't met Ryan until after. So my image of her was the character, and then I meet this really sweet woman.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
it's funny, Deborah and Pat literally just did a scene last night together. And it was very funny because they did the scene in class, and everyone in the audience, like they finished the scene and everybody was like, man, the two of you are just extraordinary. The chemistry between you is amazing. And it's true. And by the way, Pat is also the one friend Deborah has that I have to monitor when they play together, because invariably Pat is going to take Deborah out to Venice Boardwalk and get her high. So I'm always like, no, you can't just play with Pat. Pat, I have to be there when you play with Pat. I love her, but she can't be trusted. Yeah. No, dude. And look, I mean, you were saying earlier, Nate Hedrick, who plays Jackson, the oversexed brother. Yeah. He is another guy who could not be less like Jackson. Like he couldn't be less like that character. But he has this great wickedness when he works. Look, that's, I think, the joy for actors is the best actors are people that, yes, they can play themselves. And trust me, each one of those actors found themselves in the role. But the thing about Nate is he acts so that he can do things that he wouldn't do in his life, that he can play out those ideas, that craziness.
Yeah.
Him and Michelle Allaire, who, Michelle's, I always say, Michelle's my lucky charm. Michelle has been in everything that I've done in the last, 17 years. And look, I mean, I wouldn't dare give away the surprises of Michelle's character in the piece. But the truth is, look, Michelle does some nudity in the film that is, she is fully nude. And I have to tell you, that's because Michelle and I are like brother and sister. Like there's a trust there. She knows, I mean, her kids, I'm Uncle Adams, who are been their lives. And again, you get this when you have family. You get this when you're working with a troupe of actors that you consider, your closest friends. So yeah, it's a magical sauce that we have.
So where did the idea of the weapons grade truth serum come from?
I've always had, look, here's the thing. I have a complicated relationship with Christmas to begin with. Mm-hmm. My parents, who are both Jewish, were married on Christmas Eve. So they had this, they would have this party, this like massive Christmas Eve party, right? Mm-hmm. But it was also their anniversary party. And the reason they got married on Christmas Eve, one, the temple was cheap on Christmas Eve, so that was helpful. Two, the whole world is decorated. The whole world looks so magical and beautiful. And Christmas is my family's favorite time of year. Especially if you grow up in New York City. It's a wonderland. That and London are like the most beautiful cities at Christmas because it's just the whole world. It's like a sparkling snowflake. It's amazing. So my first 5 Christmases were amazing. We're like beautiful, extraordinary things. And then I turned 6 and my parents broke up and it was not good. But they kept having the freaking party. So we'd have these massive Christmas parties in my home in Connecticut, and everyone would come, all the family, all the friends, and it would be a mixture of like, oh my God, Merry Christmas. Oh, I love, where the hell's my alimony check? So I was like, and as a 6-year-old, you're like, what is this? Mm-hmm. So Christmas became this weird barbed wired thing with all the fixins, but there was something really almost David Lynchian, Blue Velvety about it. Like there was a rot under the surface, right? So I always thought, and where Secret Santa came from was, okay, how do I get everybody to tell what they really feel about each other? How do I get everyone to stop pretending and say it, right? And like, I love the movie The Ref. It's a favorite of mine. But those are people who are, from the very beginning of the movie, outwardly horrible to each other. I was like, no, I want a family that are all passive aggressive. They're all doing the thing that you actually come home to, right? That sense of like, oh my God, you lost weight. Good for you. Yeah. So you're still working on that, right? And you're like, hello would be nice too. That'd be great. Can we go there? So there's always this backhanded thing, Oh, I saw your movie. It was so you. What? What does that mean? What does it so mean? What does that mean? So me, right? So that kind of backhanded stuff, I was like, what if something would strip that away? And that's when I was like, okay, if the whole family works for a company and it's a pharmaceutical company, and so now you've got a whodunit of like, who was it that put this out there? Who created this? Then the idea of, okay, it's in the punch, fine. Who wouldn't be drinking the punch? Mm-hmm. And why wouldn't they be drinking it? And if you watch the first 30 minutes of the movie, if you watch really closely, there are people who are drinking and there are people who are not. And that's the fun of sort of like trying to figure out the mystery of what's going on. And look, the other part of it was I knew it was going to center around a Secret Santa game because my whole feeling was every single person in this movie has a secret. So if the game of the movie is also the idea of the movie, that everyone hides these dark, horrible secrets, especially from your family, and all of those things are going to come out, it's less about the, traditional, I give you a gift and nobody knows who gave you the gift. That's sort of the jumping off place. That's just the springboard. But really, it's about the secrets we keep from each other and what happens when that gets stripped away. I love the idea of people losing impulse control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, just an interesting side note. My parents were also married on Christmas Eve.
No. Dude, that is crazy. I've never met another person who had that.
Neither have I.
Damn, that's nuts, man. That's awesome. Well, we are a very small club, you and I. That is very, very cool.
Yep. All right, we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Adam Marcus in just a moment.
They say it, and it's true, that everything is getting faster.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey. And behind every page, there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Alright. Hi, I'm Travis, the King of Source Point, and you're watching The Experience.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. We are talking to writer-director Adam Marcus, and we're talking about his film, Secret Santa. There's a couple other things I want to talk to you about, but before we move on, how can people see Secret Santa right now?
Several ways, actually. We are on Amazon Prime streaming, but we are not part of Prime, so you have to pay for the movie. It's still a rental. We're also streaming on Google at Google Play. But my recommendation to people, look, you can get a copy of the movie at Amazon. It's available on Blu-ray and DVD. But if you get it directly from our company at secretsantathemovie.com/merch, if you get it there, there's signed copies, there's posters, there's all kinds of cool stuff. And in fact, there is a very cool thing coming very soon from the beginning of December from a company called Rat Knife.
Mm-hmm.
And they do these like amazing enamel pins. They're doing the first ever pin for Secret Santa. It is crazy, and I won't give away what the design is. Like, I would never take that from them. It is so. They came to me. They asked me if they could do it. I was like, "Yeah, you can do it." What are you kidding me? So we're really look. Here's the thing. In the age we're in right now, where it's very tough to get independent films seen. Forget about distribution. There's so many distributors out there that are truly just predatory on young filmmakers and on filmmakers that are making small movies. We decided to take a lot of the distribution in North America onto ourselves.
Mhm.
And a big part of that is giving them, things like a limited edition Blu-ray and DVD that we can supply to them and have a lot of extras and buzzes and clicks on it. So really, that's the best way to do it for my money. But it is available. We put it out there streaming on Amazon. We put it out there on Google Play. I believe it's on iTunes now too. So, we're out there. But again, the documentary for me is just as satisfying as the feature. So it's like that. The only way you can get that is on the limited edition Blu-ray or DVD.
And folks, I highly recommend this movie. It was upon Popco, the writers, we did movies that needed more attention or deserved more attention, and this was one of the ones that I mentioned as well. It is, yeah, it is. Well, it's definitely my favorite horror movie.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Look, we're actually there was a limited edition Blu-ray done by Arrow it was Arrow in the UK for oh God, now I'm forgetting. For one of the great Christmas horror movies. Oh my goodness, and now I'm forgetting. Anyway, they did. It was a different film, right? It wasn't our film. And they had in the Blu-ray packaging, they had a little booklet, right? That was the 12 Sleighs of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this company did not have the rights to our movie. They didn't release our movie, nothing. We were the 9th best Christmas horror film of all time. And I was like, what? And a buddy of mine in England is the one who told me, was like, you have to see that they did this for you. Like, this is an amazing thing. So, we're featured. There's a new book coming out that's all about Christmas horror. They immediately reached out to me. They were like, we're doing a whole chapter on Secret Santa. I'm like, that's amazing. So the more people are discovering the film, it's becoming this little cult item that's getting its audience, which is profound. And look, it's my favorite. It's my personal favorite film I've made. I just so believe in it. And because it was made with such love, which is such a funny thing because it's such an angry movie, but it was made with so much love. I just really hope that I hope and pray that the movie gets the kind of viewership. It's not about money for me. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about just having people see not only the work that I did, but really see the work that my cast did. Because they're all so beautiful in the movie. They're all so brilliant. So, yeah.
I think this kind of fits up there with some of the horror comedy mixes like Shaun of the Dead and Army of Darkness and stuff like that, because it brings so much comedy to it, but it's still a classic horror movie in a lot of ways. Now, you've taken this out to a lot of festivals.
Oh, yeah.
And I am constantly seeing you post that, it won this, it won that.
Yep.
I mean, this is a well-received, well-decorated film at this point.
Thank you. The nicest thing has been that we've won some festivals that are not horror festivals. So that's more exciting. Like, that's where I don't expect anything. We actually, at the Silicon Beach Film Festival in Los Angeles, we won Best Picture Comedy. And I was like, awesome. Like, that's great. Like, that was so satisfying, and nobody expected it. It was funny. We got tipped off before the award ceremony that we were going to win something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a bunch of the cast and Brian, Deb, and I were there, and we're all waiting, and the whole night is going on, and it was like an hour and a half award ceremony. So everybody's getting prizes, and it just keeps going. And I was like, man, we got bamboozled into this. We're not winning anything here. What is this? And we're right about the end of the night. And I'm like, we should just pack it in. This is stupid. And literally we were the last award of the entire thing, which was Best Picture. I was like, what? What happened? What did we do? I was just stupefied. So yeah. It's always more satisfying for horror filmmakers in particular. And again, look, I've made movies in a lot of genres. I've made romantic comedies that were huge hits at Sundance. I've made action films. I've made thrillers. But when you're named to everybody in the business as Adam Jason Goes to Hell Marcus, when you make horror films, when legit festivals, not that horror festivals aren't legit, horror festivals are the best festivals in the world. But when a festival that isn't focused on horror recognizes, oh, you're doing something here. This isn't blood and guts. This isn't just about scaring people. There's an idea here that's exciting. That is very gratifying for a horror filmmaker. Because let's be honest, we make a lot of money. We don't get a lot of respect. We don't. Yeah. And it's nice when you get a little respect. You're like, and again, look, I mean, Deborah and I, we produced a series of movies called Connected, which are short films, and they're all connected in some way. And we did one that was an LGBTQ influenced piece, right? And we didn't do it for political reasons. We did it because it was a story Deb wanted to tell. So Deb had written the script. I directed it and produced it, and actually shot the thing. And the movie, we sent it out to 6 festivals, just as a little short film, just to see what would happen. We sent it to 6 festivals. It got into all 6. It won 3.
Nice.
And so, when you get those moments of validation, you go, okay, like I'm actually good at this job. That's awesome. Like, at least you go like, okay, somebody's appreciating what I'm doing. And it also reminds you that you can do other things, that it doesn't all have to be pigeonholed into one area. And again, look, you know quite well from Secret Santa, the movie is as much comedy as it is horror. Mm-hmm. It's equal parts. So, yeah. Yeah.
And you said this is going to be a trilogy?
It won't be sequels per se. It's movies about family, movies about the interactions we have with each other, and the toxicity. And also, out of the 3 of them, 2, Secret Santa is very dark. There's another one that I'm doing that's very, very dark, even darker than Secret Santa. And then there's one in the middle that you think is dark, but has hope. And that one in particular, which I'm really excited about, we're going to be shooting that very soon, actually. And we're doing it Skeleton Crew style. It's going to be done Secret Santa style. That one is that one's about the last 2 years and what it's done to people. And I don't just mean politically. That's too easy. There is something about this pandemic that's really, I have never had a time in my life when I've talked to more people who are just simply sad. Just sad. It's like a mass depression. And by the way, I'm not making a movie about depression because that would bore the hell out of people. I'm making a movie about the actual illness that is and what that does to people and the choices people make because they are searching for something to fill this feeling of emptiness. I've always been, look, I pride myself on the fact that, and again, it's a blessing. It's a chemical blessing. I am kind of a naturally enthusiastic, happy guy. I just kind of am. And look, trust me, I've taken my hits in my life. I'm in the film business, for God's sakes. But I have to say, like, I always try to find kind of the positive spin on even the negative things that happen in your life. Usually, like, if I have a project fall apart, and everybody in the business knows what I'm talking about because it happens to all of us. You have a project fall apart. There's a lot of people who go into a depression for 3 months over that, and they should. Like, that's a valid reason to be really sad for a while. With me, I get a little pissed first, and then I take that energy and I go, I'm going to go write something. And I usually do my best work from that springboard, from that idea of like, I got knocked down. I will not let it knock me out, and I'm going to go. I'm going to keep going. So I'm that guy. Here's the thing. In these last 2 years, man, there are afternoons when I just turn to Deb and I go, yeah, I'm going to go take a nap. I've never napped in my life. And suddenly it's 2 in the afternoon and I'm asleep till 5. What is that? And I started to kind of think about, okay, what is it that I'm feeling? What is it that where's my expectations of my world, of my life, of my career, of all these things that I care about? And I started to explore, like, where is the breakdown? What is it that's happening? And how are we all trying to solve it? And especially when it comes to our relationships with our significant others, because that's who we get trapped with. You know, I am lucky in that I adore my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So being trapped with her is sort of that's what I do every day. So I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I found the pandemic incredibly fruitful time work-wise. I wrote an entire season of television in the first 6 months of the pandemic. I sat down and wrote an entire 700 pages of a television series, which is going very well, by the way. And I can't talk about what's happening, but it's going really well. But here's the thing. While that was happening, I know a lot of people who were struggling to even get up out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
And not only do I respect it, but I had days, more in this year than in last year, but I had days where I felt the same way, where I'm like, wow, why am I so sad? You know? And we look at our lives and go like, I love my life. I love my friends. All of that stuff is good. What's going on?
Yeah.
And it's incredible. I find it to be this sort of, it's kind of global. Our children live in France, in Paris. And even they've had it, and they see it in all the people that they have interactions with. It's something that's happening all over the world. And so the new thing that we're doing, which is titled "This Is Where We Are," is don't think for a second that I'm doing some kind of sappy drama. I'm not. I'm incapable. I can't do that. But I am doing something that I've never done before with this one. But it does have some fingerprints of Secret Santa in there, in just the idea of I can't do something without a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely one of those people that, like, instead of going to a dark place, I find the comedy in that and pull it out so it's more fun. So that's definitely there. My sense of humor is there, but it's also, you know, it's a serious subject matter, as is Secret Santa, by the way. I mean, Secret Santa it's a very serious movie played comic, which is what I love. You know, that's kind of my thing.
All right. Got a little bit of time left. So
Cool.
A couple quick questions. One,
Sure.
How's Heart of Darkness going?
It's going well now.
Mm-hmm.
We were kicking butt. We finished our Indiegogo campaign, which, by the way, is still on demand. Like, people are still contributing, which is amazing. We had our Indiegogo campaign that ended in December of 2019. By February of 2020, we had shot over 30 interviews for the movie. We were killing it. We were crushing this thing because I wanted to have it out that year. I wanted it out in 2020. I was like, let's do this. Like, I got the filmmakers. I got a great cast. I got a great crew. And then COVID.
Yeah.
And for a year and a half, nothing. Could not do anything. And as we started to come back to life, the American Cinematheque reached out to me because they wanted to do an anniversary screening of Jason Goes to Hell in LA and do this sort of tribute screening for Friday Night Frights. And it was going to be the first one back since the pandemic had happened. And I was like, wow, there's something poetic about this idea of these bookends. Like, I was shooting that documentary right up to there, and now this happens. From the moment that happened, things opened up in such a beautiful way. We got a bunch more people that came in to do interviews. We are about to do Michelle Clooney's interview in a couple of weeks, which I'm so excited about because she's amazing. Allison Smith just joined the cast, which is incredible because I adore her. Yeah, dude, look, the pandemic was a blessing and a curse, as in all things, quite frankly. And I think that we found all the blessings to outweigh the curse. So the documentary is going great. I've got, look, Peter Bracke is the historian on the film. And if you ever read Crystal Lake Memories, which is the encyclopedia of, I always joke with Peter that, he's the Library of Alexandria of the Friday 13th franchise. If he burns to the ground, we will lose all knowledge of that franchise. So he's my historian. Edwin Samuelson, who's a fantastic documentarian, is the director on the movie. Ali Rivera has been my right hand this entire thing, producing with me, and then of course Deb and Brian at the top of this. And I got to say, there's a guy, Brandon Crum, who is an associate producer on the movie, right? Who paid to be an associate producer through Indiegogo. This guy came in and has done over 100 animations for the movie, just to do it. Just because he's like, I'm a producer, I want to actually contribute to the movie. I'm like, please do. So that's unbelievable. Then I got my childhood friend, one of my best friends of my entire life, a guy named Eric Bietner, who is a 9-time Emmy-nominated editor for The Amazing Race and Fear Factor, right? This guy is just the balls. And he's coming in to edit the whole thing. And by the way, he's a brilliant writer. He's a filmmaker in his own accord as a director and writer, but he's a brilliant writer. I just brought him on to a project that Skeleton Crew is producing, and he's one of the writers on that project now. So again, like the pandemic, it made all of us slow down and then stop. Mm-hmm. And while trust me, this documentary has been like the sword of Damocles over my head. I'm like, I just want to finish this movie for the fans. They're all waiting. The one thing I will say, all during the pandemic, we got everybody their swag. Everybody got their free perks. Everybody got all their, and I'm telling you, we literally just sent stuff last week to Kuwait because we couldn't up until now. We still have packages that have to go to Australia. It's the last country that won't accept anything from the United States yet. But everybody's gotten their T-shirts, their posters, their knives, their masks, their all that crap. It's all gone out, and everybody's had a ball, which is great. So I feel like during the pandemic, at the very least, we've been able to give goodies to make people's lives better. So that's I'm thrilled to do that. But the movie is going to be awesome, and I will tell you what I've been telling people who contributed to the doc, and also just fans out there that want to see the movie. I'm going to give you a good movie. I'm not going to give you a rushed movie. I won't do it. I just won't do it. I will not give you something that I think is half-baked. And a big part of that is making sure that we get all the interviews that we need to have in this movie done and done correctly. So it's an enormous amount of footage. It's over 100 hours of footage that has to be condensed down into a movie. But it's really cool. And there are stories. There's one in particular that there is a misspelling on the Voorhees house mailbox. Voorhees is misspelled in my movie. Okay. I have been taking truly body blows over this for 28 years. And I literally look at people and go, do you understand what a director's job is on a movie? Do you actually think I shot the photograph of the mailbox? Do you think that's something that I shot? That was done by second unit. That's how that worked. I was shooting the actual scenes while they set up a hero shot of a mailbox. I said, I did not paint. You're right. Directors on the weekends, we paint all the verbiage on sets. That's the other part of our job. I went to film school for that. But I'm the one who takes the hit. When people find out why that mailbox is misspelled, I'm going to have a line of asshole haters lining up to kiss my ass in Macy's window, because the answer is so extraordinary. It's so amazing that when I found out the answer, when it came out in the interviews, I actually started crying. I started weeping. I was like, oh, sweet vindication. It's amazing. So there's that kind of stuff. And there's also, look, man, again, not unlike what happened with Secret Santa, Jason Goes to Hell is the only Friday 13th movie they ever had a rehearsal schedule. I had 5 weeks of rehearsal before the movie started, and I really rehearsed my actors. And they were like, we're rehearsing a Friday 13th movie? I'm like, yes, we are. We're treating this the same way I would treat a theater piece. I want the acting excellent. And I do pride the movie on having, my opinion, the best performances in the franchise. The people in the movie, the actors in the movie, give incredibly grounded, beautiful performances. Well, you know what? That's that shows up when you're sitting with these folks and they're still kind of a family. Like, I adore these. Some of them I haven't seen since we shot the movie. And the minute they walked in the room, like, the hugs I would get were like, oh my God, my long lost brother or sister. And again, it just makes me go, like, I've spent my life in this craft, and what I've gotten more from it than anything else is that just about everybody I've worked with, I still love that way. And that it's reciprocated because they know my feeling to them is genuine. So, yeah.
And you know what? That's probably the best place to end this. As much as I would just love to keep talking to you, I do have to wrap this up. We have another show coming up in just a couple minutes. What's in the Box with Miss Jen is coming up. So again, Secret Santa, it's available through, you can rent it through Amazon, Google Plus, possibly iTunes.
Yeah.
It's also available to buy through your website, secretsantathemovie.com/merch.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the Heart of Darkness, the making of the final Friday. Jason Goes to Hell. Yep. And I had a ton of other questions for you too, but like I said, we've got to wrap it up. It's been a real treat. And, anytime, give me a call, man.
Oh, dude, I love you, and I love this, and I think you're doing an amazing job on this show, man. I think it's just great. So anytime you want to talk, I'm here.
I appreciate that. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you next week for Tuesday, Wednesday, no Thursday show because of the holiday. And Wednesday, we're going to do the big spoiler show for Hawkeye since that'll debut Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So come by for that. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Good night.